After that first, it was a close your eyes and hold on ride right there. I can't believe I crashed that car.
Kamikaze. Chris wasn't just a racer, he was a fearless icon on Street Outlaws, No Prep Kings, the man who pushed limits without ever looking back. Fans loved his bold spirit and wild speed. But behind that fearless smile, a storm was brewing. One tragic moment changed everything. His career, his life, and his future on the track. What really happened to Kamikaze Chris? Stay with us as we reveal the untold struggles and the heartbreaking downfall of a racing legend. The ride to fame.
Damn it, man.
That was a good one.
That was a good one.
That was a pretty good one.
Before the Discovery Channel ever pointed a camera at him, Kamikaze Chris, whose real name is Chris Dave, lived far away from any spotlight. He wasn't a big celebrity, he wasn't making headlines, and he certainly wasn't known by millions. But when he stepped into the world of Street Outlaws during its third season back in 2014, everything shifted. His career suddenly exploded, and he transformed from a quiet racer in the underground scene to a fearless fan favorite on national television. Even with all the attention, Chris stayed grounded. Fame did not make him eager to open the door to his personal life. Instead, he focused on what truly mattered to him: racing, victories, and honoring the people who shaped him. He always believed his identity shined brightest through his car, through the roar of an engine, and through the risks he was willing to take on the street. Chris connected with every car he drove like it was a reflection of his soul. He did not just operate his machines, he personalized them, studied them, and tuned them until they became an extension of his hand. That mindset made him one of the most unpredictable and exciting racers on Street Outlaws. And one car in particular became the symbol of his entire journey, the legendary El Camino, better known as the Elko. But what many fans may not realize is that the Elko is more than just a car. It is a memorial on wheels, a piece of someone Chris and Big Chief loved deeply. That someone was their childhood friend, Tyler Pretty, known to the street racing world as Flip. Tyler's death remains one of the most heartbreaking chapters in the show's history. He passed away in 2013, just before Street Outlaws aired for the first time. Many viewers tuned in excited to see Flip race, unaware that he was already gone. His loss hit Chris and Justin Shearer, the man fans know as Big Chief, like a punch to the chest. These three shared more than the street. They grew up together, bonded over handlebars of bicycles as kids, pedaling toward every local race they could find. The trio learned racing knowledge thanks to Chris's father, who guided them during their earliest days behind the wheel. They were like brothers, long before the cameras showed up. But the truth behind Flip's passing remains a silence that nobody has fully broken. His family kept details locked away, and the show respected that privacy. What fans do know is simple. Flip did not die on the racetrack. He passed away at his home in Yukon, Oklahoma. The lack of official information led to endless theories. Some hardcore fans suggested that gunshot wounds may have been the cause, though whether it was a tragic accident or something darker is still unknown. The mystery only adds more weight to his legacy. Flip's fame did not come from flashy interviews or fancy appearances. It came from pure guts. He pushed his 1980 Chevy El Camino with a passion that made everyone in the scene look twice. He called it the Elko because, like him, it wasn't perfect. It carried pieces and parts from different places, built not to look pretty, but to win. After Flip died, that car suddenly became a symbol. Big Chief held on to it at first, unsure whether to put anyone behind the wheel again. He knew how complicated the modifications were. One wrong move and the Elko could turn into a dangerous trap. Still, Chief could not let the car rust away. It was a piece of Flip's spirit, and leaving it untouched felt like letting his memory fade. That's when he realized the perfect person to guide the Elko forward: Kamikaze Chris.
Right foot stayed down. And I paid for it dearly.
To outsiders, Chris receiving the car might have seemed like luck, but to those who knew them, it was destiny. Chris chose to treat every race not just as competition, but as a tribute to Flip. He improved the Elko with safety upgrades, boosted its power, and made sure it still carried all the wild energy Flip poured into it. For years, he lined up on the street representing not just himself, but the friend who helped him fall in love with racing. And the crowds loved it. Fans cheered louder when they saw the Elko thunder onto the track. They admired Chris for driving a machine that held so much emotion. With every pass, he honored Flip's bold spirit. With every win, he made that spirit immortal. Through all this success, the roots of his story always remained his closest friends. Big Chief, Flip, and Chris, a trio shaped by dusty streets, youth, and the thrill of outlaw racing. They didn't choose popularity. Popularity found them. When Justin stepped into the spotlight, fans crowned him with the name Big Chief, and that identity became forever welded to Street Outlaws. Flip's name became legend. Chris, in his own fearless style, followed the same path. But racing, especially outlaw racing, is never generous without risk. In mid-2020, Big Chief's old fear about the Elko finally came to life. The car that carried the legacy of their brotherhood nearly killed Kamikaze Chris. One wrong moment, one mechanical issue, one heartbeat that could have been his last. It was a reminder that street racing, for all its glory, demands a brutal price. Chris never stepped into wealth or easy comfort. His journey was made from sweat-stained shirts and engines built with his own hands. When racing cost more than he could afford, he found creative ways to pay for his passion, repairing engines, working odd jobs, doing anything necessary just to stay in the lineup. That grind sharpened him into a racer capable of competing against the strongest in Oklahoma. So when Big Chief placed Flip's Elko in his hands, Chris didn't just get a race car. He was handed a mission, a legacy, a responsibility, and an emotional weight he promised would never break him. Every burnout, every roar of the engine, every victory was a message to the friend they lost too soon. Yet behind all that adrenaline, there remained a question that fans never stopped asking. How did Kamikaze Chris become the wild, aggressive, high-risk racer millions now admire? Who sparked his obsession with speed? What parts of his early life forged the fearless driver the world now recognizes? The answers trace back long before Street Outlaws, long before cameras and famous cars, long before the name Kamikaze ever echoed through a crowd. And those answers reveal struggles, influences, and powerful moments that most viewers have never heard about. So what exactly shaped Chris into the daring racer he is today? Who molded his courage behind the wheel? And what events filled his life with the grit needed to survive the underground racing world? To uncover that story, we have to go all the way back. Roots of a racer. Choosing a life in street drag racing is not something that happens by accident. It takes courage, a stubborn mindset, and a heart built for danger from a young age. That is exactly the kind of foundation Kamikaze Chris, born Chris Dave, was raised on. While most kids were still figuring out what they wanted to be, Chris already had gasoline running through his veins. His father didn't just support his interest, he shaped it. Chris's father had a strong presence in the racing world long before his son ever hit the streets. He was known for his skills across multiple racing styles, motorcycles, fast boats, and cars that could tear down any track. He didn't chase fame, and because of that, there isn't a long public record of his achievements. Chris has always been protective about his family, keeping their personal lives away from the spotlight. But those who knew his father understood the truth. He was a hard worker, a straight shooter, and someone who earned respect in every arena he entered. Years later, Chris would finally open a small window into his father's impact. On July 29, 2015, he shared a heartfelt tribute to him on Facebook. In that post, he revealed something deeply emotional. His father passed away very young, at just 44 years old. Losing him so early left a scar that would never fully fade. But instead of pain, Chris focused his message on gratitude, the lessons his father left behind, the moments they shared in garages and on tracks, and the memories fueled by roaring engines. He remembered how his dad didn't only guide him, he took in his friends too. He welcomed boys like Justin Shearer, who we now call Big Chief, and Tyler Flip Pretty, and became the mentor they all needed. Racing wasn't just a hobby in their circle. It was the glue that held them together. In that same tribute, Chris expressed how deeply he still missed Flip, their friend who passed away a few years earlier, leaving behind silence where laughter once lived. The three of them had been inseparable since childhood, bonded by speed, wild dreams, and late-night racing talk. To Chris, those memories were proof that family isn't only about blood. Sometimes it's about the ones who stand beside you at the starting line. But Chris's father wasn't the stereotypical gentle hero in a boy's story. He was strict, a man who believed discipline built champions. When Chris or his friends messed up, he didn't hesitate to correct them. And sometimes that correction came the hard way. Tough love was his language. If they wanted to race, they also had to learn focus, responsibility, and the seriousness of handling powerful machines. Chris later talked about how his father would personally build racing boats, crafting them piece by piece, and then expect perfection from the one driving them. That dedication and grit became the blueprint Chris followed into adulthood. Behind every risk he takes today, behind every fearless moment on the track, lies a voice reminding him to push harder, to stay sharp, to never quit. His father didn't just give him the tools to race. He gave him the mindset to survive it. Chris developed his talent with the fearless energy only a young racer could have. But that foundation didn't come from luck. It came from the long hours watching his father work, from engine fumes filling the air, from the belief that speed was more than excitement. It was purpose. So when Chris finally stepped into the world of professional street racing, he wasn't just another guy with a car. He was continuing his father's legacy. The thrill, the danger, the noise, it all made sense to him because it's all he ever knew. And although his father didn't live long enough to see Chris become Kamikaze, one of the most thrilling names on street outlaws, his fingerprints remain on every race Chris runs to this day. The fire, the fearlessness, the focus, all of it began at home. The rise of Kamikaze, a legend is born.
It's kind of hard to describe what you go through. I know other guys out there.
Growing up with racing in his blood, Chris Dave never needed much convincing to fall in love with speed. Watching his father dominate engines, tracks, and water sports turned that admiration into a powerful passion. Before long, Chris found himself behind the handlebars of his very own bike, racing through life with one mission: go faster. That raw desire to push limits quickly shaped the identity the world would come to know: Kamikaze Chris. The nickname didn't just sound cool, it carried weight. It symbolized a level of fearlessness that reminded people of the legendary kamikaze pilots of World War II, who faced danger head-on without hesitation. On every track, Chris lived up to that name. He wasn't just racing, he was launching himself into adrenaline and uncertainty with unmatched courage. But the title Kamikaze also hinted at the darker side of his racing journey, a risky road that would eventually lead him frighteningly close to losing it all. Still, nothing could pull Chris away from the thrill, because he was never racing alone. His father, the first man to teach him speed, always stood close, cheering him on. And beside him through nearly every boost, burnout, and late-night tuning session was his closest friend, Justin Shearer. To the racing world, Justin is known by another powerful title: Big Chief. Their friendship wasn't built overnight. These two understood each other long before fame ever came calling. They shared something deeper than interest, a drive to conquer the streets and prove themselves against anyone who dared line up beside them. Justin's father was just as influential, serving as a mentor figure who helped shape Big Chief into the powerhouse racer he became. Together, Chris and Justin built a loyalty that went beyond competition. They were brothers forged by horsepower and asphalt. When Big Chief burst onto television screens in 2013, with the hit show Street Outlaws, everything changed. His skill, confidence, and leadership quickly made him one of the most talked-about racers in the country. And one thing Big Chief never forgot was the team that rode with him long before the cameras appeared. That is why, when the opportunity came, Chris was brought into the Street Outlaws crew. Not as a backup racer, not as a rookie, but as family. With Big Chief guiding the way, Kamikaze Chris proved he belonged among the elite. His daring style and never-quit attitude impressed viewers immediately. Race after race, he pushed himself and the El Camino right to the edge. Fans loved his wild, confident energy, and he continued rising higher with each season. Their partnership became one of the most powerful examples of what true loyalty in racing looks like, a blend of mentorship, respect, and a fearless drive to win. But while Chris and Big Chief became stars on the street, the world watching from home wanted to know more. What is this Street Outlaws show? How did a group of underground racers become global icons? And why did millions of fans get hooked so fast? The answers reveal a lot more than just loud engines and fast cars. Stay tuned, because the story of Street Outlaws is about to take center stage. The evolution and rise of Street Outlaws. Street Outlaws didn't just come to television, it exploded onto the scene. What started as a gritty look into a secretive world soon transformed into a full-blown cultural phenomenon. When the show premiered on the Discovery Channel in June 2013, audiences were immediately hooked. The rush of underground racing, the fierce rivalries, and the personalities behind the wheel. It all made viewers feel like they were finally getting access to a world long hidden in the shadows. To truly understand the show's success, you have to go back to where it began, deep inside America's outlaw racing culture. Street racing has always thrived out of sight, late at night, far from the rule books and safety barriers of professional racetracks. Pilgrim Studios and Discovery Channel recognized the perfect opportunity. Show the rest of the world what happens when raw horsepower meets raw courage. And there was no better city to spotlight than Oklahoma City, known among racers as the heart of the fastest streetcars in the United States. Before a single camera rolled, many of the drivers there were already legendary in underground circles. The show didn't create their reputations, it simply revealed them. The structure of Street Outlaws was simple, but brilliant. At the center of every episode was the Top 10 list, a ranking that determined which racers ruled the Oklahoma streets. Every race became a battle for movement on that list. Winning meant glory. Losing could knock a driver back into the shadows. But the show delivered more than races. It revealed everything leading up to that final flag drop, the all-night wrench turning, the whispered psychological warfare, the endless attempts to squeeze one more ounce of speed from a machine pushed to its limit. When these drivers lined up, they weren't just risking cars, they were risking pride, reputation, and their standing in one of the most competitive underground scenes in America. What truly set the show apart were the people behind the engines. Viewers weren't just watching cars, they were following characters with real lives, real dreams, and real consequences. Each driver came to the list with a story worth telling. And leading that pack was Justin Big Chief Shearer, the face of Oklahoma City street racing. Known for a sharp racing mind and a calm presence, even under wildfire pressure, Big Chief became a fan favorite almost overnight. His car, the Crow, started life as a 1972 Pontiac Le Mans, but over the years, it transformed into a street racing monster, a symbol of Chief's dedication and engineering brilliance. Right beside him was Sean Ellington, better known as Murder Nova. Behind the wheel of his 1969 Chevy Nova, he brought fearlessness and power every time his tires hit the pavement. Sean's partnership and rivalry with Big Chief created some of the show's most unforgettable moments. Their chemistry, built on respect and fierce competition, kept viewers glued to the screen. Then there was David Daddy Dave Comstock, the quiet killer of the pavement. His Chevy 2, fittingly named Goliath, became a serious threat to anyone who challenged him. Calm under chaos and laser-focused behind the wheel, Daddy Dave quickly proved that he wasn't just a part of the list. He was a force shaping it. And of course, fans grew to admire other bold personalities like Kamikaze Chris, pushing Tyler's El Camino to the edge, and the unpredictable and creative duo Farm Truck and AZN, whose 1970 Chevy long bed truck always kept competitors guessing. Each racer brought something different, a history, a style, and a reason to win. That mix of adrenaline, rivalry, and heart is exactly what made Street Outlaws so addictive. But with that success, the spotlight brought pressure. Racing on public roads is dangerous, and controversy was never far behind. The dark side of Street Outlaws. Even though Street Outlaws brought underground street racing into the mainstream spotlight, controversy followed closely behind. Street racing has long been outlawed across the United States and many parts of the world because the risks are simply too high. Life-threatening accidents can happen within seconds, endangering not only the racers, but also anyone unlucky enough to be nearby. So when the show portrayed this illegal thrill on national television, critics immediately questioned whether it glamorized reckless danger. Some argued the show made it look thrilling, too thrilling. To calm the backlash, the creators of Street Outlaws insisted that what viewers saw on screen was not pure chaos. They assured fans that the races were carried out in controlled zones with trained crew and safety teams standing by. But despite the protective measures behind the scenes, everyone knew the truth. The roots of this show grew from the very real, very risky world of outlaw street racing. That tension between authenticity and safety became a constant theme throughout the show's run. And yet, viewers could not look away. The show thrived because it never pretended the risks did not exist. It showcased the crashes, the sudden breakdowns, and the harsh reality that one wrong move could end a racer's career, or worse. With every season, the fan base grew, proving that danger is sometimes irresistible to watch. Now preparing to enter its second decade, Street Outlaws has undeniably reshaped racing culture. It pulled street racing out of the shadows and into living rooms around the world. Young racers found inspiration watching everyday people, not wealthy professionals, build record-breaking machines in their own garages. The show expanded far beyond its origins in Oklahoma City. Spin-offs like Street Outlaws, New Orleans, Street Outlaws, Memphis, and Street Outlaws No Prep Kings brought new challenges, new cities, and new personalities, all while maintaining the adrenaline-packed spirit that made the original series a phenomenon. Its unique blend of high-stakes energy, bold characters, and real-world risk attracted not just gearheads, but anyone who loves stories of ambition and courage. These racers are not superstars with corporate sponsors. They are everyday people battling financial strain, broken parts, personal loss, and the possibility of injury every single race night. That includes one of the most thrilling and mysterious figures the show has ever featured, Kamikaze Chris. While the cameras revealed his wild talent on the track, his personal life remained locked away from the public. Fans have always wondered, is he married? Does he have a girlfriend? Is racing the only love he has room for? Chris kept all of that hidden, leaving the world to guess. Some believe he sacrificed relationships to dedicate everything to the streets. Others think he might be protecting loved ones from the dangers and spotlight that come with fame. But what everyone agrees on is this: Chris races with his heart, not just his hands. His passion for speed was not born overnight. His father, a man known in racing circles for his skills in motorcycles, boats, and cars, taught him discipline, engines, and the art of competition. This foundation shaped Chris into the daredevil who later dominated the show. Every bold move he made, every race he risked, carried the lessons his father drilled into him. And that fearless attitude is why fans admire him so much. But as electric as his racing career has been, Chris has also faced some brutal adversity. A major turning point unfolded right on the show that made him famous. Hardcore fans already know bits and pieces of what happened, but the full weight of the incident changed Chris's path forever. Instead of letting disaster defeat him, he showed something even more impressive than speed: resilience. Chris refused to let one dark moment define who he is. He continued proving that his commitment to racing is deeper than the fears that tried to hold him back. Today, supporters are still rooting for his triumphant return, the comeback of the same bold and unstoppable racer who earned the name Kamikaze. They want to see him tearing down the asphalt again, pushing limits like always. His story is more than horsepower and smoke. It represents survival, determination, loyalty, and passion that refuses to burn out. To his fans, Kamikaze Chris is the heartbeat of real street racing, the kind where every victory is earned through sweat and guts, not sponsorships and trophies. Even with the unknowns about his private world, one reality remains clear. His influence on the racing community is massive and unforgettable. And now, the most painful chapter in his journey remains: the crash that nearly ended everything. The accident that turned cheers into silence. The night that changed his life forever. What exactly happened out there? What went wrong? And how close did he come to losing everything? The truth may shock you. So buckle up, because now we uncover the heartbreaking tragedy that almost ended Kamikaze Chris's career for good. The crash that ended everything.
I paid for it dearly. That's literally everything I had. My whole life's gone.
Racing isn't just about speed. It's a world where passion and heavy financial sacrifice collide. Every race demands costly upgrades, countless repairs, and endless hours under the hood. Drivers pour money into their machines, knowing one wrong move could wipe out everything they've worked for. And even though modern racing vehicles are built like rolling safety tanks, danger never truly disappears. Many drivers walk away from brutal crashes with barely a scratch, but others are not so lucky. And sometimes, the scars are far deeper than what doctors can see. For Kamikaze Chris, the risk finally caught up with him in the year 2020. What started out as just another exciting race, something he had done hundreds of times before, suddenly twisted into disaster within seconds. His beloved El Camino, the Elko, the very car he poured his heart into, snapped out of control. Viewers barely had time to react before it slammed violently into a barrier at the edge of the track. When the smoke cleared, the devastation was undeniable. The Elko, the car tied to Flip's legacy, a symbol of friendship, was crushed. Chris was yanked from the wreck, shaken, injured, and heartbroken. Fans held their breath, fearing the worst. The relief that swept through the racing community when he survived was overwhelming. It felt like a miracle that he was still alive. But survival came with a heavy price. Not only did Chris lose the chance at prize money, he lost the very machine that defined his racing identity. His career had always been tied to that iconic El Camino, and now it lay twisted beyond repair. For a man who races from the heart, losing the Elko was like losing a part of himself. This crash also served as a brutal reminder of why street drag racing remains illegal in so many places. Just like professional drivers in Formula One, street racers face deadly stakes every time the light turns green. One small mistake, one mechanical failure, and everything can change forever. And the harsh truth? The accident might have been preventable. A noticeable issue with the car's drive shaft had appeared earlier. Chris saw it, but brushed it aside. Maybe it felt minor, or maybe the competitive fire inside him spoke louder than caution. When someone challenged him to a race, his pride answered first, and he went for it. That single moment of giving in to adrenaline sealed his fate. The crash didn't just destroy a car, it crushed momentum, shattered confidence, and marked the end of a chapter fans never wanted to close. What should have been just another night on the track became a memory burned into the minds of viewers. One they will never forget. For Chris himself, it was a painful turning point, a moment that reminded him and everyone watching that even the bravest racers are not indestructible.
I saw it 2 years ago and you had a piece of tape on it that said Real Steel Race Star on it.
It's no rust holding.
Kamikaze Chris's journey is a reminder that the road to glory is never without pain. He raced with heart, lived with passion, and risked everything for the thrill of speed. Even when the crash took away his car, his momentum, and nearly his life, it couldn't take away his legacy. What are your favorite memories of Chris on Street Outlaws? Drop your thoughts below, and if you enjoyed this story, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe for more. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next one.